Hello, I am Hannah, Customer Insights Researcher, and this is survey teardown number 12 of the 50 Surveys project. It was initially just 50 days of 50 survey teardowns focusing on marketing surveys, but kind of broadened that. We're now doing research surveys, anything that's really getting customer or audience or market research is fair game. And today you are looking at my phone. Hello. This is a survey from David Hoos. If you're listening to this, David, thank you for letting me do a teardown on this. I saw on Twitter, David asked if some D2C brands would fill out this survey. And it showed up in my feed, and I thought, oh, hey, this would be cool to do as one of the teardowns. So thanks for being up for it. What I want to do is kind of go through this first, and then I have suggested some edits and ways that we could possibly optimize it, and so we'll do that too. But let's go through this guy first, and we're gonna do some cool markups that I just was playing around with to make sure I can actually do it. All right, so let's dive in. Okay, so this is the best SMS platform for e-commerce brands, right? So we're reading this guy here. So this is kind of that headline. There are multiple platforms to choose from today, and it can be hard to know which one to choose and why. In this survey, we're asking e-commerce brands currently using SMS to share their preferred platform and why. So this is cool. Makes sense based on the tweet that he had written to as a call to get folks to fill out the survey. He was calling out D2C e-commerce brands anyway, so they would kind of already be self-selecting here. The addition of like and why can be tricky because it's always something we want to know. We always want to know the why, but when we say it to someone, it kind of just feels like it's a bit daunting. It's a bit more work. They might gloss over it. It looked from the engagement that David got that I don't see it necessarily being a problem, but when we're reaching out to folks that we don't know, we want to be really careful to make this feel very easy. We're not going to ask like huge open-ended questions. This is going to be like serious, a super no-brainer. We'll publish your response in a blog post on the Conversmart blog, link to your site, and share via social too. We won't share your email with other parties. Okay, so something like this kind of like fine print, this tends to be a bit cautionary and a little too early to put up top. It feels like this is actually really exciting and this is really cool, and hey, I'm going to be like on a blog post and my results will be published. And if that's something that people will want or might like, which I assume it is, we want to highlight that, right? Like this should be something we're leading with, because this is your why. We're getting way too crazy here with all of my markups, but this is your why, right? This is the like where I'm going to use it. This is where you're going to see the results, and that's always really helpful. Like, is this data just going sucked into a vacuum? No, like it's actually going to be shared, and that's really cool. It's going to be shared and actually attached to me. So you'll see in my my recommendations that I would actually pop this below and put some more emphasis on the why and the what. Like the outcome of this is really, really important. All right, let's dig into the actual questions. So the first five actually are just like, they're kind of all, contacty, demographic-y, and I wouldn't lead with that because you set up all this stuff here, right? Of like, we want to understand the service, which platform you're using, why you're using it, what are the preferred platforms. But then we're leading with all the kind of like dry stuff, which is arguably, maybe they don't have to fill this stuff out. Maybe they don't want you to link them to a to the results. So you want to dive into the meat. Like, what is the actual thing that you want to find out first? Always lead with that. So that said, which of the following platforms is your preferred SMS platform? All right, so I'll cut the word platform. You want to make this like super easy to read. Which of the following is your preferred SMS platform is probably what I would say. And the preferred is tricky. Sometimes we say preferred when we mean what do you like the most, but it could also mean like what do you use the most. So maybe I prefer attentive, but I use Klaviyo, or I don't prefer PostScript, but that's the one I used. Well, that's the one I use. So preferred can be kind of tricky. Like we want to get really, really specific. Which of them do I use the most? Which of them do I like the most? And make that distinction so that the reader isn't guessing. Great that you have the multiple choice options here. They don't have to choose. That's awesome. And then an other option. Perfect. Can you describe the top reason you would give for selecting the platform that you did? Okay, so this is like a little long-winded, right? So instead of can you describe the top reason you would give for the selecting the platform that you did, I would have, if you can do skip logic, that would be great, right? So if someone selects, let's say Klaviyo, you ask, what's the top reason that you selected that platform? Or I would even just say that, like, what's the top reason, the number one reason that you selected that platform? What's the number one reason you like that platform the most? Or what's the number one reason you use that platform the most? And I would actually put in some like multiple choice options here, because how different are these reasons? If you give them some more language, and then you can kind of like put things more into categories. Maybe you're looking for their own language, which is fine too. But if you can, I always recommend stepping away from the open text, away from that kind of free text option, and putting in multiple choice where possible. And then just like simplifying this language here to make it very, very straightforward. How do you use your recommended platform? Okay, so this is now tricky, right? So like your preferred platform, your recommended, assuming preferred means like the platform you like the most, even if it's not the one you use the most. I would scrap that altogether. Like, how do you use your SMS? We're going to try writing with my finger here because this is kind of fun. How do you use your SMS platform? And then I would put something here, which I'm not going to try to write, which is like a check all that apply, and just write that there so that they know that they can check all of them. Just a little instruction. If you would like to be part of our article social promos, share a link to your social channels. So you'll see in my recommendations here, I would actually pop this guy. Hey, reminder, we're going to be publishing the results. If you want to be in on that promo, in our promos, let us know and drop your info here. And then I would ask this question you've got here, like, will occasionally send opportunities to contribute. Let me underline it because I can. Occasionally send opportunities to contribute to future surveys if you participate. I would check, like, just get people to buy in, get the permission on that before you go ahead and do it. And but let me just go and show you. I'm going to delete this. Let me show you what I recommend here. I've got this on like airplane mode so that nobody interrupts this video. Okay, so I'm going to show you this here in this view because it's easy to see the recommendations that I'm making, and then we'll hop to another view so we can actually look at the question recommendations. So what I changed up here at the top is like, what's, instead of the best SMS platform for e-commerce brands, we want to make this like really survey specific. So you're landing on this page because you're going to be answering questions for a survey. What's the survey about? We'll change this to a question. What's the best SMS platform for e-commerce brands? We want to know. So this is already positioning towards the survey. Then you've got your first question. That's fine. And then I'm always a fan of like eliminating the language survey where possible. So that's why I cut that out. You'll see here, it says that's why we're asking e-commerce brands, and making this sentence, this second sentence that we've got here in the first paragraph, making that like you're talking to them and not about them. So before it says in the survey, we're asking e-commerce brands currently using SMS, but you're actually talking about the person who's reading this, right? So you want to make it you-centered. I think that's like active or passive voice. I'm not even going to go down that road because I forget which one's which. I think I'm actually not going to go down. I was still trying to go down that road. Okay. Well, just kidding. There we go. So yeah, you want to make it like you're talking to the person who's taking this particular survey. All right, tell you a thing or two about your preferred platform. In November, we'll be publishing, so giving some timestamp. I don't know that it's November, but something coming. So you're actually making this outcome tangible. And with a link to your site, you don't need to go, I don't think, into like sharing via social too, because you have a question about that later. And then if that's okay with you, popping that in there just to, not assume that they want to have themselves published. So they have the option to opt out if they don't want that information shared. And then I'm crossing out this last section here, this guy, that guy that I just messed up. I'm crossing that section out because this is something that I think you can speak to later on in the actual questions. So let's actually go. Hey, look, I have a Spanish keyboard. See that? Espacio. Okay, anyway, sorry, back to important things. Okay, so these are my recommendations for the questions. So we're swapping things around a bit. You can see the first question here. Instead of it being about your name, your first name, your last name, your email, all that jazz, we're jumping right to the meat. Right to, first off, which SMS platform do you like the most? And you'll see that I already took out the preferred and I put in like, do you like the most? And then I added, which platform do you use the most? So I'm separating those two out. But if you have the granularity, of course, you have that of like what you want to find out. So I pick whichever one that is and go with that, just so you can be really, really clear. A lot of times, like, there are always nuances that come up in a survey when you're filling a survey out that you might not think of when you're writing the survey. So you want to be as explicit as possible. When you use language like preferred, it gets kind of muddy. So you want to be really crisp. The one you use the most versus the one you like the most, separating those two out. What's the number one reason you use that platform the most? So you can actually insert here what the name of that platform is if you want to use Survey Logic, or you can not even have the brackets, like just what's the number one reason you use that platform the most, or you would ask what's the number one reason you like that platform the most. And then you can see here I've added in some like multiple choice, and I would populate that just to make it really easy for folks. And then last question, so here you're really emphasizing like, oh, we've actually only done 4 questions here. Super easy. And I don't think I mentioned this. Hold on, I'll go back to it in a sec. All right, so how do you use your recommended platform? So how do you use your SMS platform? I mentioned that beforehand, and then check all that apply, and then you've got those listed. So the multiple choice options are the same as yours. If you'd like to be part of the article social promo, share a link to our social channel. So what I said here is, want to be part of our promos when we publish the results of this survey, drop your socials here. So you're inviting them to do it. They can opt out and like leave these blank if they don't want to participate. And then when you do ask for their contact info, you want to remind them why you're asking for it. So we'll be publishing survey results in an article this November. Can you share your information below so we can link to you from there? We won't share your email, yada, yada, yada. And then this kind of just becomes like one question, like let me throw that in to wrap up the survey. And then you've got here, you're kind of asking for permission. Yes, I'm actually going to write this whole word here because I started and felt like I needed to finish it at that point. Thanks so much. Mind if we send you surveys like this in the future, and then they get a chance to opt in and opt out. It's nice to collect collect a whole bunch of emails, and then have emails you can send to more folks, send surveys to folks in the future. But if you don't ask for permission, it's going to be annoying, and that email list is not actually prime and ready. So ask for permission always. It's just going to make your life much easier instead of having some angry folks later on. I do want to go back to this guy here. If you see over here this section that I missed before, what you want to say is something to the effect of like, we've only got 7 questions. Maybe we can call it 4 because the other ones are more semantic. It won't take more than 2 minutes. So you're just like framing this for people. If you have really good engagement, and it seemed like you do, David, it's not necessarily a problem. But the more you set up the expectations and manage these little details in the survey, when you reach a cold audience or you're putting this in front of other folks who are maybe less inclined to complete the survey or short on time, they can make these judgments much more crisply, and they'll really appreciate that kind of clarity up front. Yeah, that's it for today, folks. I hope that was helpful. Thank you again, David, for being such a sport and letting me weigh in on this survey. I'd love to know like how the results went, and I'm sure these tend to be always edits that a really good kind of part of survey best practices. And when we want to get like really large data sets and robust data, this kind of granularity gets really important, especially things like word choice. But when you have good engagement, a lot of that is very forgiving too. All right, I'm rambling now. Thanks, David. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. And I will see you tomorrow for survey teardown number 13. If you have questions, drop them in the comments. Let me know if you like this format more than like the phone thing. I kind of like it. It's sort of fun. You're like with me on this little phone journey. Okay, I'm going to stop talking now. Thanks again. Tune back in tomorrow.